Welcome to Oncology Data Advisor. I'm Kira Smith. In this interview, we're kicking off a new series highlighting the Oncology Data Advisor Editorial Board. Today, I'm joined by board member Dr. Richard Carvajal, who is the Director of Medical Oncology at Northwell Health Cancer Institute. Dr. Carvajal, thank you so much for joining today, and congratulations again on your new role at Northwell.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been almost 3 months, so 2.5 months or so. So yeah, it's really exciting.
To start off, what led you to become a researcher in the field of oncology and melanoma?
Yeah, so I think, cancer is just a devastating and life-altering diagnosis. And I think early on, when I was a trainee during my residency program, I had the opportunity to manage and treat a number of patients with cancer. And of course, it became very clear at that time that, our current therapies just, they fail our patients all too often. At the same time, the science and the information, kind of what we knew about the biology of cancer, the interface of the immune system and cancer was just ever increasing. And so I think it's those two things: the incredible need for better cancer therapies and the increasing science and the ability to potentially create those therapies. That's really what led me to this, to the field. I would also say, from a physician standpoint, having the opportunity to care for patients and their family members at such a vulnerable time of their lives, to help them through this process, I think is, it's a challenge, but it's definitely it's a privilege, I think, to help people through that process.
Definitely. As far as your research, what are some of the specific areas that you focus on?
Yeah, so very early on in my training, again, this is now back in fellowship, I had the opportunity again to care for a number of patients who, as I said before, had those therapies that were standardly available fail them. And these were people who really had very limited treatment options left. I had the good fortune to work with a number of mentors and investigators who were heavily involved in phase 1 clinical trial development. And we saw a number of those patients who, really wanted access to these novel therapies. And so, I learned how to do these early phase trials and, became very, very interested in trying to optimize the development of these clinical trial designs, right? How do we make them more efficient? How do we better select the patient population we think is going to benefit from these therapies, right? Really to make sure that we're giving the patients the highest likelihood of benefit from these very investigational therapies. Now, around the same time, a number of the patients that we were seeing were patients with these very rare subsets of melanoma. And as I think everyone knows, the therapies that we have for melanoma are amazing now, right? When I started treating, for instance, cutaneous melanoma in the early 2000s, we didn't have the checkpoint inhibitors. We didn't have the effective targeted therapies. Basically we had dacarbazine or temozolomide. And so the idea of being able to cure patients with advanced melanoma was, it wasn't really there. Everything was really palliative. And now, at least with cutaneous melanoma, we're curing 50% of the patients that we're treating. Now, the patients that I saw back then in training were patients with extracutaneous melanomas, ocular melanomas, uveal melanomas, melanomas arising from the mucosal surfaces of the body. And a large part of my research focus had been and remains trying to develop therapies for those unique clinical and genetic subsets of disease that even today are not benefiting from the therapies that have been developed for cutaneous melanoma.
In your current role as Director of Medical Oncology at Northwell Health, what are some of your current initiatives now?
So yeah, I've recently joined the Northwell Health Cancer Institute, and there are a lot of incredible things about this organization, but it has an incredible footprint where it's 10 cancer centers spread across an enormous geographic range. And in the system, we see 20,000 new cancer diagnoses a year, which gives us an incredible opportunity to care for these these patients, um, incredible obligation to do that. And the challenge of, how do we give the highest quality cancer care across this large geographic footprint to a very diverse patient population? And so, what drove me here was to help establish those standards so that everyone gets the very best cancer care, regardless of whether they're way out on the east end of Long Island or up in Westchester, so that they don't have to travel into Manhattan or the city, right? I want patients to get the best cancer care in their neighborhood, not have to travel for that. And that includes standard therapies, that also includes clinical trials. Here at Northwell, we have a collaboration, formal partnership with Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories so that we can really translate the science that's being developed at Cold Spring Harbor and bring that to our patients, collect the valuable patient samples and the clinical data, bring that back to Cold Spring Harbor, and really do that translational science that all large cancer centers want to do. But I think here we have the unique opportunity to capitalize upon that huge patient population, incredibly diverse patient population, and use the extremely strong science that we have at Northwell, the Feinstein Institutes at Northwell, as well as Cold Spring Harbor, to advance cancer care for everyone.
Awesome. So you touched on the how the field has evolved throughout the course of your career. What are some of the upcoming advances that you're looking forward to seeing?
It's been remarkable. I've been doing this since, I guess I'm getting old now, so I just turned 50 this year. But throughout my career, I've seen really the growth, the development of precision oncology, targeted therapies, seen the growth and development of immuno-oncology, the checkpoint inhibitors. And, I think, those are certainly going to continue, but I think taking advantage of everything cellular therapy has to offer, I think, is really going to be the next kind of the next probably decade of where we're putting in our energies. Having the first commercial TILS product with Iovance for melanoma, which hopefully will become available shortly, I think is a major advance. And that idea of how can we actually achieve cancer cure by using the immune system, we still have a lot of work to do. And I think cell therapy will be a big part of that.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing all of this. It was so great to hear about your research.